Just turn that on. Great. Okay. Terrific. Thank you, Tim.
Oh, no, that was David.
Oh, it was David. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Okay, so let's get started with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To
the flag of the United States of America and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
visible,
with
liberty
liberty and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Okay, thank you. Oh, did we, I also did not see Don. Is Don on?
He is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Right. Good evening, Don.
I just
evening,
can't see you, Don.
Yeah, I've got
That's okay.
some challenges with the video tonight, so I'm just going to see if I can adjust that so it works properly.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so assuming that either Janelle's having some audio difficulties or that's not Janelle or Janelle, I guess we'll just proceed here. First would be to, I'll say, go over the minutes. We do have a public hearing scheduled for 7:10, so we'll get started. Does anybody have any comments or changes to the minutes as distributed, the draft minutes as distributed by Janelle?
Steve, I have to admit, my reading time of the minutes got completely upended and interrupted, but I did catch a few things on that first page.
Okay.
Section 4, election of officers. I
Mhm.
just felt in that whole section, the officer title should be capitalized. I know it's a silly thing, but
Okay,
maybe I'm wrong grammatically, but I just felt that every time they're referenced, they are titles, so they should just be capitalized.
yep,
That's all. That's as far as I got, honestly, unfortunately.
okay. Anybody else? I had a couple very minor. Oh, it's Janelle's son. Can't get the computer audio to go to record the meeting for her. Oh,
Well, I'm going to poke a little bit at Heidi. This is Don. I wouldn't capitalize the position unless you're referring to a person, the actual person. So in the body of it, if it's just, halfway through that town board's name, the chairman, it wouldn't be capitalized in this case unless they were referring to Chairman Dibble or Queen Heidi.
I don't know about that. Okay, all right. So we got my grammatic on check, and that's good. It's
I
so
love
long
it.
as-
I love it. We're paying attention to the details, right? That's our motto.
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you.
okay. I saw David just post something. I have the recording through Zoom. Oh, okay. So he's just responding to Janelle's son, I guess. Okay, so does anybody else have anything? I had a couple minor edits. Okay, let's see. I think it's page 8. So page 8, let's see, the second paragraph down under the 20 sub 9 heading, it starts with Janelle Perry, also reported to the planning board. The second sentence there, I believe, says there was too long of a delay between when the approval was granted in April and when the lanes got around to presenting signed maps and filing them. Since the lanes were not actually able to file them, I'm suggesting this should read and presenting the signed maps for filing with the county. Because I don't believe the county accepted them, so they were not filed.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that? Sound reasonable?
Right. I see what you're saying. Yes, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I don't want to confuse people later reading this thinking they were filed and they weren't, so. And the other thing, let's see, 2 more paragraphs down, the second paragraph under new business, Janelle asked for clarification what Mr. Gillis, so it's for clarification on what Mr. Gillis would be asking, and Chairman Dibble, the next sentence starts with Chairman Dibble fells the ZBA. I'm sure that's supposed to be feels.
And Steve, right above that, I just happened to notice, it says Heidi J. Emmerich.
Oh, yeah,
pointed
look at
out.
that. Yeah, you got a little extra.
Well, my maiden
there.
name is Johnson, so I'm actually used to seeing Heidi J a lot, but it's not
Yeah.
quite like that.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Anything else? Because I think that's all I had were those couple very minor changes. Okay, would someone like to make a motion and state your name so Janelle has it for the records? Make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Nick will make the motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Anybody second?
Paul can second.
Okay, anyone not in agreement? Okay, let's show that everyone accepts the minutes as amended. So, okay, and we're at 7:09, so why don't we just, I guess I'll open it up. Does anybody on the board have anything they'd like to perhaps add to the agenda for discussion later on? I know I have some minor updates, I'll say, just to make sure we're all in sync on Sailor Mill, the Lane lawsuit, and the Shokan rentals. So. Okay. Nothing from the board? Must
Oh,
be,
so are we discussing these items now? Or are you saying for items for discussion
I
later?
just propose them to add for later.
Yeah, no, I'd like to talk about the lane thing too. I'm curious about that.
Okay.
I only had one very minor thing, which was a follow-up on asking the Ulster County Planning Board about what they want to see and what they don't, but it's very
Yep.
minor, so we can discuss that very quickly. That's it.
Yeah, I had that actually as a note for, I think it came up with the discussion of the lot line adjustment for the
Mhm.
Shokan Field Campus there, which is not the right title. but- Okay. Okay, so we're at 7:10. I'd like to open up the public hearing for Judy Mayer. Is somebody on to represent Judy? I believe Cecil Hooker was the person doing the speaking last month.
I'm here.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're opening the public hearing. I've not opened the public comment portion yet, just to note. Cecil, would you like to just take a few minutes and describe to the people on the call what's being proposed?
Yes, there is a lot line adjustment so that from parcel 1 to parcel 2, so that there will be a legal road frontage for the zoning to be correct for parcel 2. And then a section below where it says portion of new parcel 3 between the black line and the road frontage, I mean the driveway frontage. That's the new area that's being adjusted. And the entire new parcel would be the shape, looks like a piano almost. It begins on the left, all that and the new portion connected together makes it one portion.
Right, so
I
you're
think
taking-
you guys asked on the far left hand side to put in corrected area chart where it says the tax parcel is 9.49 and will be 7.69 acres after the adjustment. Tax parcel 54.3123.1 Pabina is 8.64 acres and it will be 9.008 acres after adjustment. And 543.122.2 Hooker Oaksmith is 3.02 and will be 4.452 acres after adjustment.
Okay,
See what else was asked, requested. I'm
One of those
sorry.
lot lines labeled, are they labeled now? It's hard to see on my small print. Can you zoom in, Tim, on those lot lines that are
Yeah, no.
new or to be removed?
they are,
Okay,
they're.
There's a line.
Yeah, to be
At
removed.
least this one
Okay.
is labeled.
okay, great.
The others are, I guess, butting up against the driveway. I
That's
believe.
correct.
So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, Heidi, you had asked, I guess, or requested that secret item number 3 be, I'll say, corrected, amended.
Did we receive a revised, or we just gonna?
I think we did. Let me just double check that.
Yeah, that's,
Yes, yep. I have to compare it to the old one again.
yeah, the old one was just the, say, the acreage that was changing hands in terms of the proposed action.
Mhm.
And I think you had suggested that they should be showing the total acreage.
Yes, it was a total acreage of 21.15 acres instead of the. I think it was- Yeah,
1.816 is what it was showed before.
that's correct.
There
Right.
we go. And then you've got the whole, yep, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. If it's okay with the other members of the board, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll open it up for public comment. Okay, is anyone on the call in the meeting that would like to speak to this proposed lot line adjustment? Anybody at all? If you haven't, you will need to unmute yourself so that we can hear you. If you're having other problems, you can make a note in the chat. We can see if we can resolve them. Okay. I guess let the record show that there were no comments. And with that, if there is no disagreement from the board, we'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing and I believe the public hearing. Anyone from the board object? No? Okay, so we've closed the public hearing. Does the board have any other questions or comments? Don't all speak at once.
No, I think they got everything covered as far as I can tell that we
Yeah.
discussed anyway.
Okay, I do have one, I'll say, a bit of a concern, and perhaps it's been addressed, but there's seems to be a discrepancy between the names and addresses of adjoining properties, the list that was provided, and what's shown on the map, at least the map version that I'm looking at. So, Mr. Hooker,
Yes,
just maybe you can confirm or perhaps can explain lot numbers 12 and 13 as shown on the map show as Origin Properties LLC.
yes,
On
Origin,
the- on the list of adjoining properties, they show as Leslie and Rhoda Stevenson and Peter Ohlers and
yeah,
Daniel.
that was in
Malpeter.
my older. That was, you're absolutely right, because, but in my older map, that's what it was set at.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I just saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Leslie Stevenson and Dan and Peter, I'm sorry, Myopa.
Yeah, it's,
I don't remember.
yeah, Malpica or
Malpica and Peter. I
Peter
forgot his last name.
Hollers?
Yes, that's it.
Peter Hollers,
Yeah, they're the two owners now. I don't understand how that changed.
Okay,
Uh,
so you're saying it's the map that's incorrect?
The map is incorrect. Yes, the map is
Okay.
the origin properties were the original people that owned it, and now it is now owned by Leslie and Rada and Dan and Peter.
Okay, well, that's actually the better way to, I'll say if there's a better way, because that just entails fixing the map. And we know then still that the right people were notified of the public hearing.
Yes, I sent them all the, I sent you guys, the
Right.
Janelle, all the correct addresses of all the people that were there. They're supposed to be
Right.
there.
Right,
I don't
Okay.
understand how that changed.
okay, so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So I believe what we can do, and the board can certainly chime in, but what we would have to do is make any approvals tonight contingent upon correcting that on the map.
All right.
Makes
I'll
sense.
definitely correct that. That's just so weird. Again, the older maps, the older maps that I had submitted back in September have the correct addresses on them and the correct properties and all that stuff. And I don't understand how that happened, but I will talk to the surveyor. He just made a mistake.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody on the board have any other questions or concerns?
Chairman, I just have this, Don DeMartini, just a quick question.
Yeah.
So if there are discrepancies between the property owners that are adjacent, assuming, can we make an assumption that everybody who needed to be contacted for comment possibilities were in fact they received some notification?
That's why I asked which was wrong. Because what the applicants all provide a list of names and addresses of the adjoining properties. And it's correct on that list, and that list is what's used to send the mailings out to the neighbors for the public hearing.
Right, Chairman, and I
Oh.
recognize that. So I'm just asking if that was actually done based on
Uh,
what information we have now in front of us.
Yes,
Great. Thank
Yep.
you.
yeah. Okay. So, I guess we can proceed with the paperwork here, assuming that everybody on the board just feels comfortable. Is there anyone who does not feel comfortable with moving forward with approval on this? Okay, so let's, I guess, do the secret. Does anybody have a copy that they can read through?
If I have a copy, just give me 1 minute to open it. I can.
Okay.
You're not referring to this form.
Our short form part 2 that we
Okay.
have to do.
Okay.
Do you want me to actually fill it out, or how are we doing the hard
If-
copy?
if-
Are you filling
no,
that part
it's-
out and I'll just read it?
Exactly, perfect.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, 1. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use or zoning regulations? No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? No.
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? We don't have any of those, so no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact the existing public Public-private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater treatment facilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, or architectural or aesthetic resources? No, there's no construction. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to the natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No.
Okay, does anybody on the board take any exception to any of those answers?
No.
No. Okay, good. So with that, we'll say we will check the box that says that based on the information and analysis above and any supporting documentation, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts.
Correct.
And I will sign and fill that out later. So then we also need a copy of the checklist.
I have
Okay,
that open
here.
as well if you want me to read it again, Steve. That's
Uh,
easy for you.
That would actually be great if I can figure out where I put my copy here. That would be even better. What did I do? Well, it must be at the bottom. That's why. Yep, okay. Okay, I have a copy.
Okay, we're going to start with B1. The location of that portion which is to be adjusted or subdivided in relation to the entire tract and the distance to the nearest existing street or intersection. I believe
Yes.
that's all on there. All existing structures, wooded areas, streams, and other significant physical features within the portion to be subdivided and within 200 feet thereof, if topographic conditions are significant, contours shall be indicated at intervals of no more than 20 feet. Existing structures are shown, topo has been waived, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken.
Yep,
The name and signature of the owners and the name of all surrounding property owners as disclosed by most recent tax records, i.e. The list and names of addresses with SBL and 2 sets of legal envelopes. I believe we have all of those, and the map will have those 2 adjoiners corrected.
yep, I noted yes, but need to be corrected on the map.
4,
Okay.
planning board endorsement block with 2 signature lines.
Yep.
The tax map sheet, block and lot numbers, if available, they're on there,
Yep,
numerous places. All utilities available and all streets which are either proposed, mapped, or built.
yes,
Yes.
The proposed pattern of lots, including lot width and depth, street layout, recreation areas, systems of drainage, sewage, water supply within the subdivided area,
yes,
as it applies, yes. All existing restrictions on the use of land, including easements, covenants, or zoning lines.
yes,
And the proposed subdivision name, name of the town and county in which it's located. That looks right.
yep,
And licensed surveyor signature, date and seal. That's on there.
yep, that's on there.
And date, North Point, map scale, name and address of the subdivider.
Yep. The scale is down in the little the survey subdivision lands of boxes.
Mhm.
Kind
1
of
to
hard to,
80. Yep,
okay,
that looks good.
okay. So just a comment to Mr. Hooker.
Yes, sir.
When the updated corrected maps are provided to the board,
Yes,
for signature, you need to make sure you have the owner's signature on that before
yes, sir.
they come in. So, okay,
And also change the date on the planning board signature.
oh, yeah.
2021.
Yep. Yeah, it should be, well, it'll be of the day of 2022 sometime.
Yeah, but he has that written in there, so.
Yeah,
What's written in there? The,
it says 2021 instead of
Oh, there.
2022.
In the
Okay.
statement, Steve, Town of Olive Planning
Oh.
Board approved the resolution.
oh, okay, yeah. Normally we would just put the date that we sign it there. but
Yep.
That's, okay, you just update it to reflect.
Yeah, I'll
tonight,
fix that.
Assuming we complete the approval process here, so, okay. So would someone like to, I'll say, make a motion to approve this lot line adjustment with conditions, I'll say?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Heidi will
Okay.
second.
And seconded by Heidi. Okay, to approve the lot line adjustment made by Mayor. And the approval of this application is subject to the following conditions, and that is that the owners of property lot or properties 12 and 13 on the map be corrected to reflect what was in the name and addresses of adjoining property document.
Yes, and also on the left-hand side, that has to be corrected also. On the far left, right under mailing addresses. Those
Right.
have to be adjusted too.
Right, okay.
Yep.
They're just corrected. I mean, it's corrected on the sheet that I've submitted, but not on the
Right.
map.
Okay, so let's take a vote. Tim Peck,
Yes.
Ed Cahill,
Yes.
Nick Berger,
Yes,
Heidi Emmerich,
Yes.
Paul Wright,
Yes.
Don Martini, D Martini,
Yes.
and Steve Dibble, yes. Okay. So Mr. Hooker, your lot line adjustment has been approved. We'll need obviously to see those updated maps and get them over to the town offices for signature, and
Absolutely.
we'll try and take care
I'll
of
get
that.
them to you as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, and
Thank
have
you
a good
so
night.
much. Thank you for the board for your patience and working with us.
Thank you for your patience. It's been a long time for you guys, I know.
I thank you also.
Okay.
All right.
Good deal. Just get my paperwork back together here so we can move on. What time would it be? 7:31. So again, we have about 10 minutes, I believe, before the next scheduled event, which will be the public hearing for the Shokan Center lot line adjustment. So while we're waiting, why don't we, Heidi, we can just talk a little bit about the county planning board and their feedback to you regarding the need for their review on some items.
Well, I
And
got a very concise response from Mr. Leibowitz.
Right, right.
But the short of it is they do not want lot line revisions, nor do
Right.
they want to see any subdivisions less than 5 lots unless it's a type 1 action or it's, I don't even know if they want to see it if it's on a county highway, actually. If it's, I have to double check my exceptions, but he pointed me to, which maybe I'll just send everybody, because I don't know if everybody has this. This
The
little
docu-
land use document,
Yep,
their land referral guide. It's very handy.
Yeah.
And what they do is they list all the things they don't want to see instead of all the things they do want to see, which is a little bit funny, but yeah, no well, line revisions of any kind or really minor subdivisions. They don't want to see that stuff. So that makes it a
Yeah,
lot easier.
I think the reason for a little bit of confusion for us is that the lot line revision from a Olive standpoint is treated in large part like a subdivision, right? So,
Right. So if it's fewer than
Oh.
5 lots, they don't, unless there's some sort of significant impact with the seeker, something else qualifies as a type 1, they don't want to concern themselves with it.
right.
But what if it's on a state or county road? They want to see it or not?
I think again, if it's less than 5,
Okay,
that
Right.
they don't want to see it. If it's greater than 5 and on county or state, they do want to see it.
Right. Because that was the
Well-
whole reason why we were approaching them, because it was something that was on a county route. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's also it borders Marbletown.
Right.
right.
It's Marbletown, right? So, yeah.
But just for clarity, but any site plans would still be the same, correct?
Site plans they want to
yeah.
see. Yes.
Okay, yep, okay.
They are less concerned with the residential, but site
Mhm.
plans are a definite, no matter the size, if it's on a state road or within a municipal boundary, they want to see it. And I'm going to try to attend the meeting tomorrow night and try to absorb some more of their procedures. And it goes very quick, but try to learn as much as I can continue to do so. So,
Thank you.
Okay. So I think one of the other things that came up in our last discussion on the Shokan Foundation lot line revision was Heidi, you'd asked that the conservation easement be somehow hashed so it could be better seen on the maps. Tim, I don't know, do you have whatever the latest were that we've gotten via
Yeah.
email? I just want to double check that. I've been working from the paper copies here, and I don't believe it's hashed on that.
what I will say is, I think I'm going to have to compare my notes here, but I think they changed their line weight. And I guess they didn't change their line weights. And no, it's not hashed.
I don't think you guys had a good PDF to look at last time.
Yeah, this is much better.
Yep. Yeah, I guess the issue with that easement is it's that you see the dashed line for the easement, but then it kind of disappears in all the other lines, I think,
Yeah, it's
right?
part of the property line, right? Right.
Yeah, I can't tell which direction it goes when it hits the property lines, so. Okay, well, maybe that hasn't been resolved. Maybe they'll be able to address that when we talk more.
I do think they have the actual lot labeled though. Look in their conservation easement area.
They,
I mean, Patty will be able to explain it to you, but
yeah, that's fine. Okay. We just have a couple more minutes. I guess I'll jump and just give everybody a quick update on the Lane lawsuit. As I understand it, I guess the lawsuit was planned to come to trial on the 26th. That didn't happen because apparently, as I understand it, the judge in fact already had made a determination that at this point the lanes were in default. And so there was no need for a trial. So at this point, the lanes are, I'll say, judged in default, and they have essentially what's going to be a daily fine for not complying. But I'll say that our signature of the maps at this point is contingent upon some other issues being addressed, in particular, one of them being reimbursing the engineer that they had do some work for them to get to the point where they could be compliant. So we're at this point, I'll say, instructed that all the communications with the lanes will be through our attorney, Dan Hebner, and Dan will let us know when in fact, we can go ahead and sign whatever maps are presented to us, or I should say, sign the maps as presented to us. Because from my standpoint, my contingency is that we need to make sure that nothing has changed on the site from when we did our review. So, but at this point, I've not heard anything more since then. Don't know where things stand. Haven't heard anything from Dan. So I assume that there are still some open items being addressed. So.
I didn't get that. I just didn't understand why. Isn't that whether or not they pay their engineer? What does that have to do with us? That didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, I'll say it's. I don't know. The simple answer to the question is I don't know. But that's the message that we were given.
Right.
And so.
Do we have to stay? Because I felt the same as Tim. I was kind of waiting to see what happened with it, but I also felt that we're an independent body. Our approval doesn't, or disapproval or whatever, should be independent of whatever
Well, it's
private matters. No,
it is kind of different when you have the judge involved and the judgment involved. So
Yeah, okay.
we need to follow what's been discussed and determined by the judge and the attorneys. So yes, you're right. We're an independent body, but since this has ended up in the courts, I think it's appropriate that we follow the attorney's advice based on the judgment and what's been ruled by the judge in the case. So. Any other thoughts on that?
No, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. So it is 7:40. So is there somebody on the line to represent the Ashokan Foundation for this lot line adjustment?
Yes, Patty Brooks.
Hi,
And
Patty.
and
How
Steve,
are
I'm
you?
gonna officially recuse myself.
Yep, thank you, Nick. We'll make sure that's noted in the record that Nick has recused himself. So Patty, did you hear our short discussion on the hashing of the conservation easement?
I did. On the map that we submitted, and I'm not sure why the red is showing up and the green isn't. We actually outlined the conservation easement in green. I don't know if I'm able to share my screen. I do have it up, but we tried cross-hatching it, and it's a very large parcel. The conservation easement is 63.91 acres, and it kind of took over the map and seemed to take away from the lot line revision that we were trying to achieve. So we tried to come up with another option, and that was by, on the actual map prints, the conservation easement area that's in the center of the map is in green. And then the wording along the boundary lines is in green, saying boundary line coincident with conservation easement line. And I don't know if you, I don't know if you would enlarge it along that southerly boundary line, and maybe
I
move the map up a little bit. So you can see where it says boundary line coincident with conservation easement line. And we did that around the boundary. And again, in a different color to try to highlight it without making it the focus of the map.
Where does it say boundary line coincident? Oh, easement line. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, boundary line coincident with conservation easement line. So it's along the entire line.
Okay. I'm looking at I guess the latest paper maps, paper copies we were provided, and they're like 11 by 14 or 11 by something, and it doesn't show in green there either.
Yeah,
So I don't
again,
know.
Patty, I guess my big question with why I wanted to understand where the conservation easement was in relation to the property lines was also to understand that is this new piece of land being conveyed being taken out of the conservation easement because or is it now going to be included, but now Ashokan Dreams is going to have some part of that easement? What is that relationship happening with this piece being conveyed?
right. It always was part of the easement because the easement came before the original subdivision did. So the easement is going to run with the land no matter what. So whether
Okay.
it's owned by the city of New York or whether it's owned by Ashokan Foundation, it still will remain part of the easement. You know,
Okay.
basically the reason for the lot line revision is to take the obligation and the liability of the bridge and the two culverts out of ownership of the city of New York and place the burden on the Ashokan Foundation.
Okay, thank you.
And so we talked before about the property that encompasses the road, I'll say, that's being transferred to the Ashokan Foundation, not going all the way through, but there is still this easement, right? And the easement is to the Ashokan Foundation for what I'll call the top end of the road here. Is that
Correct.
correct?
So that they still will have, when the original subdivision was done, that was how we kept it as one lot. So it's lot 1A and lot 1B, which are connected. It used to be just by right of way. Now it will be partially by fee ownership and partially by right of way.
Right, okay. One other question, Patty, do you know whether the fee has been paid yet? So I think that,
My understanding, I had received an email from Janelle saying that there was an envelope at the town hall with the fee. I know the Ashokan Foundation was dropping that off themselves.
okay. Well, we'll double check with Janelle when we can reach her just to confirm that, but
Yes,
thank
and
you.
certainly we make sure that all the fees are paid before we submit the maps for final signature. So,
Yeah, I just brought it up because in our minutes from last month, I think it noted that the fee had not yet been paid, so that's why I'm asking, so. Okay, does anybody on the board have other questions for Patty before we open up the public hearing?
I have one quick follow-up question regarding the remaining easement that runs through the New York City land there. I see Tim's got it right in the middle there, revised 50 full wide right of way or connecting right of way. Do you have a library and page reference for that portion, or will a new easement be revised, or is it just going to be as per this filed map?
well, the location of it has not changed.
Right.
So it will remain in effect as per the original deed. And then a new deed will be filed conveying the 1.32 acres from the city of New York to the Ashokan Foundation with the notation that it's to be conveyed to and combined with their existing lands.
Okay.
And all other provisions will still stay in effect.
Heidi, are you saying you feel there's something that should be added to the map? Is that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to, nitpick. Normally, it'd be nice to see the library and page referenced right on the easement, anything that's existing. But in this case, where it is existing and you're filing new maps which are going to show it, I'm not going to nitpick it too much. It's fine. Obviously, it's part of this deed in the history. Like I said, it's existing. I mean, it'd be nice if the reference was right there on that statement, but I mean, I guess the same would be for this easement that runs down. Is that an easement that runs down below the right of way that continues through to Route 213 down below?
Yes, and that one we do call right of way as referred to in deed library 998, page 11, and library 208 at page 561, because that is an easement that's attached to this property. The reason we didn't specifically call out the right of way connecting 1A and 1B is because it's already referenced on the map as part of the reference deeds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha.
So it is referenced on there as the reference deed to the property.
Yep. That's fine, Steve. I'm satisfied with that. So long as it's referenced, it's good.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Comments, concerns? Okay, is anybody here from the Ashokan Foundation?
I am Peter Cook.
Hi, Peter. And what's your role, Peter?
I'm the managing director.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Just wanted to know whether somebody was in attendance from the foundation itself. Lest some questions come up that you might be best able to answer. So, okay. If there are no other questions or concerns, input from the board, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. And so, Patty or Peter, I don't know who the right person is to kind of kick this off, but we usually ask that the people making the application just spend a couple of minutes and explain to the public what's taking place.
I
And good,
defer to
Peter?
you, Patty.
All right, thank you. Again, thank you. The application before the board this evening is a lot line revision to convey a 1.32 acre portion of an existing 50-foot right-of-way, which has an existing roadway connecting lot 1A and 1B of lands of the Ashokan Foundation and crossing the Esopus Creek. The purpose of the lot line revision is to convey the portion of the roadway, including the old Turnwood covered bridge and two newer culverts that have been installed along that roadway, from fee title of the City of New York to the Ashokan Foundation. The right-of-way will still remain in place in its entirety. The conservation easements that previously have been placed on the properties will remain intact in their entirety. And effectively, the only change will be the ownership of a portion of that roadway.
Thank you.
The other thing we did add to the map to try to clarify, because it is a 3-sheet set, is in listening to the previous applicant, we did add on sheet number 2, a acreage table, basically saying that the existing acreage of DEP is 219.25 acres, being reduced to 217.93. And existing acreage of Ashokan Foundation is 141.10 acres, being increased to 142.42 acres.
Okay,
Great.
thank you. Thank you. Any questions from the board? Okay, if not, we'll open up the public comment portion of the public hearing. Is there anybody on from the general public who would like to speak or ask a question? Please unmute yourself if so. Just to confirm with Mr. Edinger, they are able to unmute themselves, right?
They should absolutely be able to, yes.
Okay. Is there any comment from the public on this? Okay. Let the record show that there was no public comment. And so we'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing. And if there are no objections from the board, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Any objections from the board?
No.
Okay, thank you.
There's one thing,
Um,
actually, I just want to bring up about this. It's just like,
Sure.
so I get why this lot line adjustment makes sense for the Ashokan Foundation, but if the property is to be resold, doesn't this make that, it's just so kludgy, it's like adding this extra thing, this extra responsibility. Is that something we should be considering? You know,
Well, yeah, I guess I don't view that as part of the board's purview, but
yeah.
Patty, did you want to say?
Yeah, I just
something?
wanted to say, it's along the lines of willing buyer, willing seller. And when you're a willing buyer, willing seller, and you're interested in doing this, the right of way already was in place with the maintenance agreements that were attached to that. So not much is really going to change. And I think it actually makes it easier now for the Ashokan Foundation to be able to properly maintain those portions with and actually having the ownership of them at the same time.
Mhm.
It's their benefit to keep these well maintained because it's connecting their northerly and their southerly parcels, which is very important.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of interesting, looking at, I mean, I never realized that the Ashokan Foundation / formerly the field campus was split like that. So it's kind of interesting that the city has all that property in between the two lots. So, okay. I guess we'll just, any other comments from the board, thoughts? Just to reiterate, I think we've closed the public comment portion and the public hearing. So, okay. With that, should we go ahead with and move on to the seeker and the checklist? Heidi, you
Yes.
want
Yeah.
to repeat the previous process? Would be
You want to
great.
repeat performance, Steve?
Yeah, because then I can focus on filling in the boxes and the signatures and stuff. So that's great.
You got it. All right. So I got my short EAF here. We want to actually just look, make sure there aren't any other comments to the EAF, which I doubt. I'm sure everything's impeccable. Yeah.
Guys, just a quick question before Heidi does her best Shakespearean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any way we can actually see this on screen for the benefit not only of all the board, but for folks who might be interested in this process, just to see what we are in fact reviewing? Is that
Is it
possible?
online?
Yeah, do
Tim,
you have
do
the
you-
sheet too, Tim? I can email it to you quickly if you want.
Yeah, if you don't mind, email it to me, please.
You got
That'd be
it.
great. Thank you, sir.
Short EAF part 2. Tim, I'll send you part 2 and checklist. Okay, so you've got it.
Okay.
Attach those. Maybe. I'll send you so you have it also. I'll send you the minor, major checklists and the resolution while I'm at it.
Cool. Thank you.
Then you can display any that we so require.
Okay, so we're going over the,
We'll do the short EAF seeker part 2 first.
is that this? Yes, checklist, short secret part 2
Should be the
checklist.
first one, yeah.
Downloading.
Do you want me to start reading it while that's opening for the sake of
Sure.
time, or? Okay.
Sure.
All right, number 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with the adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No,
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No.
no,
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No.
no,
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that caused the establishment of a critical environmental area? No.
not applicable.
Yeah, NA. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No,
Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
no,
Will the proposed action impact the existing public-private water supply? No. The public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No.
no,
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
no,
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora and fauna? No.
nope,
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
nope,
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
no. Okay, so the other side on the bottom, if you could scroll down, Tim, you see on the bottom of this page, keep going, scrolling down. So there's, for those not been through this before, there are 2 check boxes. One that says it may result in potentially larger significant adverse impacts. The other is that it will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact. So I am checking the box that we have determined based on the information analysis above and any supporting documentation that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Any dissent from anyone on the board? Okay, thank you. And that would bring us to the resolution.
All right, so you'll be looking for number 5, checklist for minor subdivision in that list I gave you, Tim.
Oh, that's right. We didn't do the,
Yeah,
didn't do the checklist yet. I'm jumping the gun. Let's do the checklist.
And I'm not listening to you apparently, Stephen. Sorry.
All right,
Okay, B1, the location of that portion which is to be adjusted or subdivided in relation to the entire tract and the distance to the nearest existing street intersection
yes,
on there. All existing structures, wooded areas, streams, and other significant physical features within the portion of the to be subdivided and within 200 feet thereof. If topographic conditions or significant contours shall also be indicated at intervals of no more than 20 feet. All of those are on there, and I believe contours are not required in this instance.
correct.
The name and signature of the owners and the names of all surrounding property owners as disclosed by most recent tax records. A
Yes,
list of names with SBLs, we have that list provided, and the 2 legal sets of envelopes with name, address, and stamped.
yep,
Planning board endorsement block with 2 signature lines.
actually, I wanted to ask Patty, we've had several different, I'll say, well, copies of maps with, you know, different content. Patty, if you're still on, what
Yep.
what specific maps do you expect to submit for the planning board signature?
So the most recent map is dated January 17th, 2022, and it's a 3-page set. All three maps will be filed with the county clerk, and we have the planning board endorsement on page 1 of 3, along
yeah.
with the owner certification on page 1 of 3. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Let me just double check here. I have the maps in front of me, so. Get it turned around. Yep, okay. I see that. So all three maps will be submitted as a package.
Yes, as soon as they say on them sheet 1 of something, the county
Right.
clerk will not allow them for filing without all of those maps in the set being submitted at the same time.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Number 5, the tax map sheet, block and lot numbers, if available. They're all on
Yes.
there for sure.
Yep,
All
yeah.
the utilities available and all streets which are either proposed, mapped, or built.
Yes,
They're shown. The proposed pattern of lots, including lot width and depth, street layout, recreation areas, systems of drainage, sewage, and water supply within the subdivided area.
yes,
All existing restrictions on the use of land, including easements, covenants, or zoning lines. It's
yes,
on there. The proposed subdivision name, name of the town and county in which it is located.
Yep.
It's all on there. And license, surveyor, signature, date, and seal. And which is on the bottom left corner. And the
Yep.
date, North Point, map scale, name and address of the subdivider.
yep,
Looks to be in order.
okay, great. Okay, so now we can move on to the resolution. Does anybody have any conditions that they would like to place on approval? Or concerns with approval?
Steve, I would just like that whatever hard copies end up at the town. I know our hard copies didn't seem to show that green, or I guess it's gonna be a shaded area. If that
Yep.
could just be on those maps that we sign.
Okay,
Just so it's
So
clear that the
the
conservation
con-
easement's running with the land.
the condition will be that the map clearly illustrates the conservation easement. How's that?
Please, yes.
Any other board members have any comments? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve the lot line adjustment?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the lot line adjustment.
Okay, Tim
I'll second.
and Heidi? Okay, to approve the lot line adjustment with the following conditions: that the map clearly illustrate the conservation easement. So we'll take a vote. Tim Peck,
Yes.
Ed Cahill,
Yes,
Nick Nick is recused, abstain. Heidi,
Yes.
Paul Wright,
Yes.
Don DiMartini,
Yes.
and Steve Dibble is yes. Okay. So Peter and Patty, your application for a lot line adjustment has been approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to getting those maps into the town offices for signature.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
you.
Have a great evening.
You
as
too.
well.
And I hope sometime to get over to see the bridge.
You know, we have
So-
hot chocolate fest
Beautiful.
coming up, Steve. You can come
Yeah.
over and have hot chocolate.
There you go. When is that?
The 19th and 20th of February.
Okay, is that like winter days or some?
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
There'll be an ice sculpture. There'll be music, food. It's all outdoors. So there'll be hikes also.
sounds good. Sounds good. Hope the townsfolk are well made aware of it.
I hope so too. I think we've done a pretty good job about that.
Yeah, okay, great. Well,
Great.
thank
Well,
you.
thank
And
you. Thank you very much.
yeah,
Thank
have a good
you.
evening.
Take care.
Okay, so 8:08, and I think the next thing on the agenda is going to be Simon Strauss and the request for an open development / subdivision. Simon, are you on? I think he was on earlier.
On you.
Here.
Hi,
And Steve-
Simon. So,
I just want to
What's that?
interrupt real quick and just let
Yes.
you know that I, of course, am recused and Simon has worked with Bernier and Larios on this project. However, if it's acceptable to the board, I'd like to stay and not fully leave because I would like to learn about what we're doing with this open development process. Is that acceptable to the board?
Yes.
yeah,
But I will stay
Acceptable.
quiet, but I'm gonna listen and learn. Thank you.
right. Well, we may have questions that you may be able to help with as well, given the situation. So, so Simon, I think we discussed this very, very briefly in the last meeting. So, maybe you can, I'll say, update us on where things stand and what you're attempting to do. I know you've provided some new maps here. And we see that you're showing now it's essentially going to be a 3-lot subdivision of the property that's to the left and below what we would call Indian Trail, right?
That's correct, Steve.
Or the old Indian Trail and new Indian Trail. I don't know what we're going to do there, but
I'm calling it Indian Trail Northerly Extension, but yes.
oh, okay. So if you would maybe just spend a couple minutes and take us through what we're looking at here on the map.
Sure. So Indian Trail, as it's currently constituted, starts at Black Road, which is down towards the bottom right of the map, and heads in a northerly direction. North is kind of what the map would look like as being just north of west, but that's north. And then it takes a sharp right turn up to the property where I'm currently sitting, which is directly up. Yeah, that's there. That's Indian Trail, exactly. So that's the house I'm sitting in right now. And I and my wife, Barbara, own both the lot where your cursor is now, the lot that's just down and to the left where she lives, and the large lot all the way to the left with all the topographical hatchings on it. And our proposal is to subdivide the large lot into 3 and extend Indian Trail in a northerly direction to almost where, to that box just to your right of your cursor there, Tim, to there from down where it currently heads right up to our house. There's a stone wall that marks the edge of Barbara's property, and the Indian Trail would follow that stone wall until the end of that stone wall and end in a T there. And then the top lot, that's the most northeasterly, it's 10.3 acres. We have an interested purchaser for that lot, and they've specified that they want to have access to Indian Trail as extended. So there'd be a 25-foot part of the parcel which would extend down to the T along the back of Barbara's property. And our proposal is that we would also subdivide the remaining roughly 13 acres of the 23-acre parcel into roughly 2, as shown in the sketch map with the proposed driveways and house and septic placements. Does
So
that?
the three new lots are being carved out of what was one lot, right?
Correct, yes.
So there's no change, I'll say, to the boundaries of the existing lots with the houses on them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well,
Okay.
the house, the lot that, excuse me, just on, is it okay if I answer that question?
Yeah.
The house that Simon is in now owns that part of Indian Trail and will own the extension as we're drawing it and proposing it today. So that will become part of that lot. That lot, which is what we accomplished in the last lot line revision, that lot became, the owner of the existing Indian Trail and will be the owner, for lack of a better term, of the extension of Indian Trail. So that lot changes, and it's not labeled on this sketch map, but there's just the tiniest little sliver down at the corner of Barbara's lot on the bottom right that is also being given to that roadway so that you meet a better width there for passing through. It's very minimal. The next draft from Brier and Larios will have more detail in there.
So the road that goes up vertically from that essentially is making this like a little flag lot down to Indian Trail, this Indian Trail extension. Is that correct? So this is where the cursor is now. Is that driveway?
That's a proposed driveway to that lot 1,
Right.
correct?
Okay. And another question, as Indian Trail goes out to Black Road, there are 2, looks like, private owners out there, right? The border Indian Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Is what's shown now for Indian Trail, is that deeded? Is that right away? Is that, I guess, is it deeded to?
It's deeded to
Stroud?
Simon, yes.
So that it gets quite narrow at one point, right?
Mhm.
It appears we don't have widths shown on the maps. Do you know what the width
The
is?
tightest point there is 19.5, I believe, or something very, I might be off on the tenths, but it's around 19 point something.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, I have a question. I have a July 7th, 2021 map here from back when they did the lot line revision. And there were bearings and distances all along that portion that you're talking about. And on this latest submission, dated November 5th, 2021, those have been omitted. And I wonder what changed?
They were just turned off on this sketch because this sketch was just for preliminary review. They're all back on there, and the next version will have all of that back on there.
Okay.
What, I'm sorry, Ed, I didn't catch. What did you say is not here that was on that other map?
Coming off of Black Road,
Right.
the property line on both sides of that Indian Trail, there's no bearings and distances where on the last submission it was there.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you do a scaling of both maps, something's changed there. It's not as wide as it was back in July.
Okay. So in July, it appears on the July map that that's wider than it appears here, is what you're saying.
That's my observation, yep.
So,
I will make a note to check that at Bernier and Larios.
yep, okay. Other questions? I did get a call from Brian today, Brian Burns. So for those who don't know, our highway superintendent, Brian said that he was able to go up and take a look, and from what he could see, he felt that what's being proposed would be adequate. But, you know, we still need to see, I'll say, the engineering plans for the road bed and more detail, but just in broad terms, he felt that it would be adequate. I've not heard back from the fire department yet. I understand I should expect a call from them, so.
Yes, Steve, Chris Winnie from the fire department came up with Brian last Tuesday and told me that, in his opinion, it was adequate for emergency vehicles as we described it. Obviously, that has to be shown on the engineered plans, but that he needed to run that by his board, and their board meeting was last night. And neither I nor Brian have spoken to Chris since then. So we haven't heard whether the board approved that, but that's what that's what he was going to propose to his board. His board obviously have to sign off on that.
Right. So now from what I understand, Simon, from speaking with Brian at the end of, I'll say the extension, so to the left on Indian Trail, you have that little box there, right? But I think there was discussion that they needed room for essentially a pull off and to be able to turn around there.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
There's planned to be a T there, and there's also planned to be a pull off where Indian Trail currently turns right. So where the extension of Indian Trail is going to go to that box, but where it currently turns right, there'll be a pull off there as well. Chris had said that wasn't strictly necessary because his trucks carry 1,200 feet of pipe. And as long as they could get from Black Road up to the T with where they could turn around or pull in there, he'd be okay with that. But we said that from a sort of safety perspective, we'd rather have a pull off there and a radius onto Indian Trail as it currently exists, so that people could also back up and turn around at the junction of existing Indian Trail with the Indian Trail extension. So,
and there is not an intent, I think, to put a turnaround at the top of at the end of the existing Indian Trail, right? Up by your house.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there is room enough to turn a regular truck up there because the propane truck caps up, etc. But and there's also room to turn around in the driveways, which are hatch marked, both going to the group Goodison property and to Barbara's property. You can see the hatch marks about halfway up that vertical driveway. There's room enough for trucks to turn around in either of those as well.
Okay. So all this, I guess, begs the question for me, does the planning board feel that we should make a site visit?
Yeah, I think that would be prudent.
Okay. And I guess I'll say my view is it would be prudent as well, but I think I'd like to have the rest of the plans in my hands when I did it. Meaning understanding what the road bed is to be and where these pullouts are and the turnarounds are and all that. Is that fair?
I think we're gonna need a profile and cross sections of that road.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Well, and I think Brian is also looking for that. So Simon, do you have a feeling for when we might be able to get that information?
I think I have to turn that back to Heidi.
The engineering department is not my department, so they are aware. They are looking at it. I know a profile has already been started and being looked at. I don't know for sure if they will have it within 2 weeks, but I will certainly express the need to deliver it as soon as possible. But I don't want to speak on their behalf.
And does anybody do people on the board have a feeling for would they like to do this as a group or as smaller groups or individually once we have the information we need?
Does it make sense to ask Brian maybe to meet us there?
I think
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan. Yes. Yep.
Maybe we do it all together.
Yeah, I think a group is good, better.
Okay.
And also, there's Heidi, just a note. There's you're missing a joiner underneath Gunderson.
Underneath. Oh, it's back there. Yep. No, a lot of stuff got turned off in there. It's all back on, but I'll make sure. Thank you, Nick. You just don't have that most recent version.
So just a caveat, and that is that doing it as a group, we will need to post a notice of a public meeting, right? So,
Well, unless we do it in phases like we did the last time, you know.
well, I guess we can also,
Groups of 3 and stagger the time.
we can also do it if we do not, I'll say, discuss business as part of the visit,
Mhm.
right?
Steve, what do we do at the hip camp place on Broadway? We were all there for that, right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah, I think what we did is, as long as, you know, as long as you stick to it being an informational meeting for the board, it's not considered a meeting. So in other words, not discussion of whether we think it's appropriate or approvable or that kind of thing, right? So we could do it that same way. If that's what the board would like to do.
I believe
Just
David
have-
also took.
Yeah,
notes.
that sounds all right.
You just have to be careful in what the discussion is. It's a fact-finding mission, period, right? So, okay. So essentially we'll need to get those maps and the cross-sectional view. Brian also, I think, mentioned that there was some discussion about being able to perhaps cut down the grade a little bit in one section of the early section of the road. And Brian also, when we spoke, he mentioned that he could go get us some grade numbers, but also I think Brenner and Larios could do that, provide us that cross-sectional grading, so we can see what the grade really is over there.
The idea, Steve, is to achieve between 12 and 14 at the very max. I believe right now there's one section that's like 16.9, something like that in our first initial, look at it. And the engineer will be reviewing that this week to see where to level that out. That will be shown in the next
Heidi,
iteration.
I'm just curious, are you guys actually doing survey of the topo and the actual property, or just using the
At this point, we are using because we're tied into grid, we are using the 2-foot contours provided by the county. But if
Could I ask?
requested to do actual topo, that'd be up to Simon to engage our services to do that.
Could I ask, it sounds like somebody's either got company or TV in the background or something. I don't know, Dave, if you can figure out who that is and mute them. Thank you. Much better. Nick, I was not able to hear what your question was.
No, I just questioned if this was actually done by a survey or if it was just taken from the available information, the contours, the LiDAR data that's offered by the county.
Okay, and sorry, what was Heidi's answer?
At this stage, it's the county open source information.
But that's not adequate if you're going to design a road. So you're going to have to do site-specific grades there.
Any comment on that from Simon or Heidi?
That's fine with me. If it needs to be done, it needs to be done.
Yeah, okay. So I think at this point, unless anybody has other thoughts, I think we're waiting on these more detailed maps and the cross-sectional area and the information on the roadbed, et cetera. So, and at which point we can schedule a site visit and continue on from there.
I have one more question I'd like to ask Simon.
Go ahead.
Last year, when you came to the board, it was discussed about approaching the neighbors so you could have a wider Indian Trail down from Black Road going in. Did you ever approach them about acquiring a little strip of land so this thing would be 2 lanes wide?
I did not directly approach them. One of the neighbors is on this call, so you could certainly ask her, but I did not directly approach them.
It just seems to me that this would be a nice, much cleaner project if you had a wider approach coming in that first section there. But you're gonna have six houses in here. You have 3 now, and you're gonna have 3 more. So the potential could be a problem when 2 vehicles can't pass on that road.
Yep.
Yeah, what is the proposed width of the new road?
Well, it's about 19 feet in one spot.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, oh, that's the width of the.
well, Brian basically in our discussion again said, 9 feet for lanes, and then obviously you need something for whatever the shoulder and ditches are. He understood that this was tight, but, from our standpoint, I think, 19 is definitely a bottleneck if that's what it is, so. So Simon, who is it that was, which neighbor is on the call?
Cindy Traeger.
Okay. Do you have any feedback from the neighbors on what their thoughts are on this project?
I know we got feedback from Cindy last time about the condition of Indian Trail, and we certainly intend to remedy that with this project. I haven't had any other feedback directly. Also, Nancy Gunderson, you see the Gunderson property, and Ivar Gunderson, Nancy's brother, are on the call as well.
Right now, does Cindy use Indian Trail to access their property?
She does not, though Nancy does, but Cindy does not.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Any other questions for Simon? Simon, do you have any questions for us?
I got, I guess, 2, and that is what other needs beyond the driveway, the Indian Trail engineering do you need? For example, road maintenance agreement, I think, is one of the items that's talked about in the town section A 159-6. And Drew Boggess supplied me with a road maintenance agreement that he has for the private road on his road, which I have marked up, and I think I sent that to you, Steve, and how you want to have that taken care of in terms of where that fits into timing, and then what the other sort of things that need to be done and what the prospective timing would be. I know some of that is very dependent upon when Grenier and Larios comes up with the engineering, but kind of what we see as the course of events would be very helpful.
Well, I guess there's 2 things here. First is the open development in the road, and the second is obviously the subdivision itself, right? Which, as I understand it, everybody I've spoken to says we should kind of try and handle these concurrently, right? So, but clearly everything that needs to be done for a subdivision is going to need to be done here, along with everything that needs to be done for the open development, which is essentially, I'll say, coming to the point where the board believes that your road is adequate for safety, emergency vehicles, et cetera, right? And reporting back to the town board and them approving the open development. And I think, at that point, the open development would essentially need to be approved so that we then can go approve the subdivision based upon there being an open development, right? So, but it's going to take some time. I don't want to conjecture and be wrong, but so next, if all the stars align and we're able to do a site visit before next month, we can discuss that then. And if we have the engineering and all that, we can then talk about I'll say what our view is of the road and whether that's going to be adequate or not. But that's kind of the first step.
Okay, that
And
makes
what-
sense. And then the road maintenance agreement, the draft of that, is that something you will want to review?
We typically, I mean, we typically don't review road maintenance agreements, so probably take a look through it, but I think the key is that there needs to be one in place, right? So the property owners that are potentially gonna, or the potential buyers for these properties know that they will be signing up for a road maintenance agreement and what that is, so. It may actually be something though that the town board would like to look at as well to ensure, and that Brian will want to take a look at to ensure that this, the fire department, to ensure that the road will be, kept up to suitable standards, so.
Okay, well, I certainly could share that with the town board and with Brian
Yeah.
whenever they're ready to look at it.
Yeah, I think Brian will be key with a lot of this, so. Okay,
Steve, I have one other comment. We're still talking on the subdivision part. I'm not comfortable with the note on all three building lots that this is not a building lot until it's got health department approval. So I think we should require septic approval on all these three lots before we sign off on anything.
yeah,
I mean, we've made exceptions in the past, but it's only one parcel at a time,
well,
but the obvious intent here is to build three houses, so we have to have septic approval to make sure it's viable.
yeah, I agree. I don't know what, other members of the board feel, but kind of my view is it's clear the intent here is to develop these properties. So doing this as non-buildable lots is probably not the right way to go. Simon,
I agree, Steve.
do you have any comments on that, Simon? I mean, basically what we're talking about is doing perk tests, right? And getting Board of Health approval for
Right,
septic systems.
And I know that the person who has the interest in the lot 1 area already owns the adjoining property to the northeast. And they've told me that they currently have no intention of building because they plan to build their house on the property to the northeast, but they're looking for this property as essentially a barrier against future development. So while they want to have future access, they don't have any plans to build. And I have no plans to build on or sell either of the other 2 lots at this stage, but we'll do whatever you say we need to do.
So it sounds to me like you could just do a lot line adjustment and you wouldn't even have to mess around with the road. I mean, why would you build an open development road to those lots if you had no intention to build there? If you just did a lot line adjustment, sold the one to the neighbor to the northeast and kept the others for yourself, you wouldn't have to go through the whole process. It'd be very simple.
You could eliminate the flag lot and the driveway and all that if they truly are not going to build on it.
But I think what they're trying to say is that they're interested in buying it subject to sometime down the road potentially building on it.
Okay.
And that they could buy it from me and decide right then and there to go ahead with that. So I understand that, Steve.
Yeah. Okay. So that just puts us back where we were, which is probably should go ahead with doing the perk tests and getting the Board of Health approval. Because that, in fact, for a buyer, when you go to sell these properties, Simon, they want to see that so they know they're not purchasing a property that's not going to be suitable for a home. So.
Understood.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments from the board? Okay. Simon, anything? Heidi?
I think that's it, Steve.
Okay.
Steve,
Sorry, I was muted. I have a quick
Me too.
procedural question, Steve, from your expertise. the planning board reviews the open development and subdivision sort of concurrently, as you said, then it goes back to the town board for their final review.
The open development has to be approved by the town board.
Mhm.
They are looking for essentially a quote unquote report from us, giving our feedback on the open development and whether we believe, for example, the road will be adequate and, all the typical safety, environmental things that would normally be looked at. So we provide that to the board, and then the board essentially has to vote on approving it as an open development.
And then it comes back to us for final approval?
Well, once the
Oh,
open
no.
development was approved, then we could approve the subdivision, right?
All right.
So,
Just order of
yeah.
operations, just trying to understand
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Thank you.
We may ask to bring in our land use attorney at some point, just to make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed here. So this is, I think, new for all of us. Seems to be quite, I don't know how much time the board members have had to take a look at the documentation that I sent around, but there's a lot of gray areas, in my opinion, in that documentation. So some of it is pretty fuzzy.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Steve, just to clarify, Indian Trail currently is not it's not a town road. It's a private driveway
is.
essentially, right?
it is a private, well, it's considered a private road. It's on the maps as a private road. Yes. So I guess in some regards, it's a little more than a driveway, but
My only question on that with the history, when, as I understood it, when 911 went into effect,
Mhm.
Addresses that had, more than, I think it was 2 houses or whatever, they were kind of forced to create a private road name. Does that affect this? I mean, there was a lot of, I think, smaller roads that became private road.
Yeah,
One, two,
I
10.
guess I don't know. It'd be a good question for Chris Winnie.
Just because of
department.
that.
Yep. Yeah, because they wanted to be able to assign fire numbers that they could map out, right?
Right, it all had to be differentiated. I don't know if
Right.
that's the case here or not.
But, yeah.
Paul, I'm not sure I understand the question. So just so you know, the 3 houses, which are the 2 houses on our property and the Gunderson's house, all have fire numbers, which are 2BL 33 through 37. And then there is a town Indian Trail sign at the bottom of the road, which doesn't say private road on it, but it is a town sign. And the addresses for the 2 Strauss properties are 41 and 45 Indian Trail. Those are the official post office addresses.
But the fire numbers are based on Black Road, it sounds like.
That's correct. Yeah, they're 2BL. Yeah.
BL, yeah.
Right. And I'm not sure on that, but similarly, other roads were forced to become private road 10 and addresses to match that, to differentiate and assign a fire number.
Oh, yeah, they did do some private roads with just numbers, right? So,
Right, and I don't know, I think they were given opportunity to either name the road or assign a private
Yeah.
road number again. I would
So
have to clarify that.
I think it's a question for Chris Winnie in terms of fire numbers. I'm not even entirely sure how much the fire department relies on fire numbers at this point. I think it's all GPS and addresses, right? But
Yeah.
So. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, I guess as I suggest we'll table this for now and await the updated maps and road engineering documents.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Hi,
Nancy.
I'm the neighbor Nancy Gunderson.
Yep.
Right near Simon.
Okay.
I just had a quick question, and what we were talking about as a family, and maybe others would like that too, but we were wondering if we could receive earlier notice for these upcoming meetings, because this last notice we got was on January 27th, which was only 5 days before this meeting, and it's not a lot of notice, and we're wondering if we could get, I don't know what your protocol is, if we can get earlier notices as far as when these meetings will be had, and I don't know if you certify them, have certified mail. I don't know what you do really, so I'm just asking.
Yeah, this, I'll say that this notification was, I'll say, more of a courtesy to make sure that the neighbors are aware that something is taking place.
Okay,
You will get more, although not perhaps a lot more notice for a public hearing once one is scheduled.
okay,
But I guess, if you want to follow along, I'd suggest that, I think we'll be discussing this again at the next board meeting. So you can always check the agenda and or tune into the meetings. So.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I have a question, just to follow up to Ms. Gunderson's ask of what the protocol is.
Yes, Don.
Do we have a sense as a process when an applicant at this stage, when they receive notice so that they are going to their issue, their request is going to be preliminarily reviewed by the board? Is that a 2 week ahead of time of the actual date of the meeting? Is that, say, by the 15th of the previous month? What's the time frame
Yeah,
involved?
it's typically 2 weeks ahead.
So something to consider, and perhaps put this on the as new business, is how this information is shared with potential neighbors. This, I would imagine, for this project and others, would make it easier for folks to participate and comment as need be.
It's shared at 2 points. The first is when the application comes in, essentially the building department notifies the neighbors that there's something being requested. And then prior to the public hearing, notices are sent out. That's, the second set of envelopes that Janelle needs, and she can elaborate on this, but the net of it is information is sent out then prior to the public hearing to gather the public's input. Those are the 2 points.
And again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. That's pretty clear in some of the
Right.
So
what are you?
I'm asking going forward, is there room to improve that process so that folks who might be affected, and given the tenor of some of the other questions or lack thereof when opened up to public comment, we didn't really have any. And again, not everybody's aware of all of of making themselves available to what is out there to comment and to be aware. So again, just in the interest of transparency and folks understanding what's happening in their town, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what that improvement would be, other than perhaps trying to get the agenda and the minutes out sooner so that people can look online and see what the next agenda is.
That's fair. And again, perhaps we can bring this up just for the group to discuss a little bit and new business, just to see what other venues we might pursue, including regular correspondence being sent out on behalf of the project to those affected neighbors, and give them the opportunity to either attend or not. But again, full disclosure, if it's out there in the public domain, then, there are ways that we can address it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think online kinds of notification is good. I don't think it's going to be practical to send out letters every time we're going to discuss something at a meeting, however brief it may be. So that's, I guess, my feeling. I don't know about other members of the board, but.
No, officially, the time to comment is at the public hearing. So rather than have a public hearing at every sketch plan meeting, that's the way it's normally done.
Right.
Right. And again, in my experience looking at at towns and other bodies across the country, I've seen other extra effort made to just have ongoing communication shared with folks who might be affected by any project, regardless of size, and it's not a question of public commentary, it's just courtesy.
Yeah,
with full disclosure.
I understand, but I guess, you know, it comes down to workload and whether it's really beneficial or not, a cost benefit analysis. But I mean, once the neighbors are aware the project is happening, then these documents and agendas and meeting minutes and all that do get posted, right? So they can follow along via the internet and just go onto the town website, and or they can choose to participate in the meetings, right? So,
Actually, the Zoom recordings get put up on YouTube as well.
right, so they can view that as well.
And
So,
that's great, guys. And again, I'm sorry I'm pushing on this because I've seen other situations where it has an adverse effect on projects like this that go on for entirely too long. And literally not everybody, even in 2022, has access regularly or the desire to be on the web. Just there are ways to impart information so that all is being shared equally. That's all I'm saying.
well, I guess if you have specific proposals, we'll talk about them.
Great. That's all I'm
but-
asking. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. Anything else on this, or shall we close this out and move on?
I guess
Let's
I
do that.
just have a timing question on this on behalf of Bernier and Larios.
Yeah.
I know that the engineer is working on a road design, or will be shortly. The topo that's going to be gathered by the survey department in coordination will take a bit of time. The septic design and perks cannot happen until the ground thaws again.
Right.
Does the planning board want to see what is new available information as Bernier and Larios has it? Or would you prefer to see the whole scope when perks are done and Board of Health approval is in the process and so on?
I'll speak for my own opinion is that I don't see any reason that we can't proceed with the discussion on the road and its adequacy and the open development side of this while we're waiting for the ground to thaw. So, I mean,
That keeps everything moving. I just wanted to
Yep,
make sure
yep.
I knew what the expectation was to relay back
Yeah.
to the engineering.
yeah. So, okay. I mean, before we've actually done approvals contingent of, well, I think we've done approvals contingent upon having Board of Health approval before the maps are signed, right? So we could go as far as that potentially. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Steve, and the members of the board. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tim, for running the cursor on the map. That was really helpful.
Okay. So I think that leaves us with, well, that's the end of our normal old business agenda. For new business, we have this new subdivision application from Elizabeth Hanson as 22 sub 3. 1967 County Route 3 Olive Bridge, which is, I guess as I read it out, Sampsonville Way, right? Is Elizabeth here or anyone to represent Elizabeth, the Hansons on the call? I guess that's sounds like a no. Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts on this?
Do we have the narrative on this? I don't think I saw that. That's
There was
usually-
a brief one. I'm sorry, I'm digging
can
through
read
my
it.
papers to find it.
Ms. Hanson wrote, "I wish to remain in my familiar surroundings and sell the big house and remaining 1+ acre and move into a replaced mobile modular unit on a separate lot. I do not believe any environmental resources in the municipality would be affected. I have been recycling and composting long before it was even thought of here in America. Respectfully, Elizabeth Hanson.
Good.
So, yeah, so as I understand it, her intent is to subdivide, install, build, whatever you want to call it, a mobile modular home unit on the subdivided piece of the property, and sell her existing home. So this is over by the church in Sampsonville, I believe, from what I could tell.
There's always been a mobile home there, Steve, as far as I'm
Oh, really?
familiar. I believe that just prior to the stream, there's always been that.
Okay. So I had kind of had a couple thoughts here, and that's that the map is a little bit lacking in that it doesn't have the property owners across Sampsonville Road or Upper Sampsonville Road. It doesn't show septic in any way, shape, or form for either the existing or the proposed mobile home / house. We have, I think, some specific, do we have some zoning specific to mobile homes? Not sure, other than the size.
No, there's nothing specific for mobile homes.
So nothing other than the 600 square foot
Right.
minimum requirement, I think, right? So,
I think this map is lacking a lot, but I mean, it's probably something in the preliminary, but there's a lot missing from this.
yeah,
I mean, the division line, there's no bearings and distances, and it appears like there's a water course is all over the place. And I think they should try to get a septic approved before they go too far. I mean, when you pull 100 feet from all those water bodies, there's not much land left. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, clearly it is intended to be a building site, so we would,
right.
I think, require septic approval.
Yeah, but that's gonna control what she does there, I think, based on.
But if the mobile home's already existing with a septic.
What's that, Nick?
If the mobile home's already existing with a septic, though.
Well, I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds from the narrative, it doesn't sound like it exists, but, right? Or, oh, well, it does say move into a replaced mobile modular unit.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that implies that, yes, there is the one there and that they're gonna replace it.
Yeah.
That's how I read it.
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming this is preliminary. I mean, it's labeled preliminary. It's by Menbach and Eggers. I can't imagine that our next map won't have all of those things that they know by now to include. Certainly,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll have,
Yeah.
they know that.
Yeah.
I
I
think,
think the last map we got from them too is kind of like this, a little bit, the one right down the road from this, end of the road, where it was kind of
The other-
preliminary stuff, so not everything was there.
yeah, so another couple things I noted, in her application, she checked off, any part in a flood hazard areas, checked as yes. And then as Heidi, you had raised in our earlier discussions tonight, the total area of the property in acres, she's only describing the total area of the new parcel.
Right. I'm gonna check.
I'm sorry, the
that,
background noise is really challenging.
Much better.
I'm gonna check the SBL now and see what the flood zone is and if we need to request that to be drawn on there. Probably there's this, a zone A around this. Well, what we also need, if there's gonna be a pond, we probably need to, well, let me just see if there's wetlands on here. Let me get this, what's
There
the
is
SBL?
There is a mobile home on the site right now.
Yeah, the ponds always existed, the stream as well. And if, I'm not as good at this, but if you go to Google Maps, you can see where the trailer sits.
Yeah, okay. Well, so, I mean, it sounds like she has a pretty good idea of what she wants to do, so.
Whoa.
Let's-
Sorry, I just, I just turned on their flood zones. They're gonna want to show those. They're gonna want to show that, and they're gonna want to show their state and federal wetlands. Well, it looks like actually just the pond is state, actually national federal wetlands, but they're gonna want to show that flood zone on there. Because a lot of proposed lot 1 is in the flood zone. There might be a high area there. I mean, there's definitely a high area there, but they've got to make sure that they're, you know, not in it.
Okay,
Not,
so,
or that they are in it, the high area.
yeah, we'll take have to obviously take a closer look. Just the comment that this was just on the agenda for agenda consideration, meaning to see if we felt we should add it to the next agenda, and I think so. It sounds like there may be some significant concerns here. But certainly we'd like to, as they move along, perhaps get a little more detailed map, right? So,
Just a basic point of information, that's proposed lot 1 is actually identified, proposed lot 1 in two different spots. I assumed it's 1 and 1B or 1 and 2.
yeah, yep, absolutely.
I believe there was a previous subdivision or lot line revision on this in 2003. So yes, if this was whatever lot number this was in that subdivision 2003, this would be lot 1A and 1B or whatever. So yes, they'll have to definitely correct that. So we're consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And just to be clear, Miss Hanson lives in quote the big house at the right.
That's.
I mean, this is a woman who's
our,
right. She's looking to divide her property that she owns
yeah.
and moved to occupy this mobile home site that's been on the property for a while, and that's really what we're being asked to consider.
Yep, that appears to be the
formal
case.
division. Okay.
Yep.
Yes. And I just turned the aerials on this FEMA map I'm looking at, and that mobile home site is actually tucked, just nestled right in there in the high ground area. So I think she's just fine. So long as she already has an existing septic and well, and she doesn't have to propose one, I think she's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can't read too much into it, but if she's bothering to discuss environmental concerns and composting and that sort of thing in a 2-paragraph introduction, she probably takes this all pretty seriously.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll have Janelle add this to our agenda for next month.
Great.
And given that that's the only thing I think on the agenda for now, other than perhaps continued discussion on Indian Trail and Simon Strauss's application. I don't think that should be an issue to add that. So, and I don't think we need a second meeting this month. Anybody have anything else they wanted to talk about?
Steve, I just had a couple questions about jobs that we I don't know if you had any updated status report on some of these things I have hanging around. Ashokan Rentals, we were looking for a ZBA code interpretation on the dwelling definition. Did we get any info on that?
They meet, I believe, on Thursday. The zoning board of appeals. I don't know if Shokan Rentals is on that agenda or not. I do believe that Karen Ranucci and this other proposal for what the heck was it that she was proposing? It was like some sort of a craft. What Ed, do you recall?
Yeah, it was a school for artists and I don't know, kind of a community center type thing, I think.
Yep. So that I believe is on the agenda for the next ZBA meeting. I'm not sure where Shokan Rentals stands at this point. Anything? What else, Heidi?
Senecal, so we didn't hear anything more from him then. we
No.
kind of, okay, all right, so
Mhm.
we don't, I'll just leave that sitting there. And Trojan, did
Ah.
he follow up with us on anything he found out with the road or whatever he was looking into for Scandinavian Grace formerly?
No, I've not heard anything. I've not heard anything.
Mhm.
So I think, you know, he was, as he stated when we spoke with him, right, he was really just looking for, I guess, a kind of a general feel in terms of the planning board and whether they felt this was a good idea or not. Then we left him with a list of, I'll say, questions, concerns, things to be looked at, but I've not seen anything since.
Okay.
So, and I've not seen anything other than on Sailor Mill. I haven't seen anything other than that there were still issues with the maps, right? So,
Mhm.
We got some today, Steve, I believe with the
oh,
revised.
oh,
maps.
what's that? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it came in at 5 o'clock today.
Oh, okay.
I
What,
believe. Was it today? Yeah, 3 hours ago.
and what's it say?
Right, you know, Caleb sent attached to the revised survey map that has been reviewed by CT Mill. We were looking to get permission to produce the Mylar and paper copies for signatures. How many paper copies should we provide for the town? And how would you like us to proceed?
Okay. Well, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, there's maps attached, I believe. So
Yep. Yep. I think the town, we need 3 copies for the town, right? And then the Mylar for the county and a paper copy for the county plus whatever they want, right? So, but, yep, okay. Good to hear. I did not see that. So that was from
Caleb.
Catherine? Oh, from
Caleb.
Caleb. Okay, okay, good. I mean, I think I'm still waiting for Catherine to say the maps are up to snuff, right?
yeah,
And
So, okay.
Steve, are they gonna have a final fee with CT Mail then? The applicants, are the applicants gonna have a final fee with CT Mail to, settle up before we sign anything finalized then? Or
Yeah,
is there enough money in the escrow or where does that
I,
sit?
I don't know, but both CT Mail and Jim Bacon, right? So
Mhm.
I presume there are outstanding bills from each of them that need to be addressed, so. I guess once we get the agreed final maps, we can request CT Mail and Mr. Bacon send their final bill and close it out, right? So. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
This is probably me more than anything. Anybody have problems printing out stuff at home from this?
What kind of stuff?
Like
Which-
the agenda and the
Oh.
minutes.
I do find that if I try and print it from my browser, it comes out all skewed, but if I download it and print it out, it's okay. But other than that, I haven't had problems. What kind of issues?
Yeah, it gets all scrunched up and I'm missing a lot of content and
Huh?
and my kids were saying, that's my IT department. They were saying that it's
do you
it's the
download it?
format. What's
Or
that?
Do you download it onto your computer first, or do you just try to click on the?
Great question, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question.
I highly recommend that you download it and then try and print it from the app that opens it versus trying to do it from the browser.
Okay,
So the printing from the browser will at times do all sorts of crazy stuff.
okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah. And if that doesn't work, tell your IT department to kick it into high gear and get it
Yeah.
resolved.
They want to raise then.
Yeah.
The child labor laws,
Yeah.
There you go. So,
I will say when I went to the box today to just double check that there wasn't anything else for me in there, there was some stuff for, I can't remember who, but there were a couple things in there that were like individual sheets with stickies on them and stuff for you guys. So I don't know if things were separated from the original
Yeah.
packets, So just make sure when you go to the box to really look through and make sure you get everything, because it didn't seem like everything was really stuck together this time.
Yeah. No,
If you
it's
found you were missing anything.
kind of an issue. I've been thinking how we could solve that with folders or envelopes or something so that
Like
it's
little inboxes in there.
just, yeah, it's really easy when you go dig through it to have paper clips fall off and now
Mhm.
stuff is not associated with whose sticky it was and all that, right? So. But
That's a
yeah.
good idea, Steve. If we could ask the town to get just little, you could even get like they get in the school, the cardboard ones, so long as they're
Yeah,
like
that's a
11 by
Cubbies,
17 little
cubbies, yeah.
inboxes, you know, or
Yeah.
whatever, those little mailboxes. Yeah.
Yep, something
That
like
would be
that.
great. That would
yeah.
be really
I
helpful.
tried asking Gino about something like that on the outside, maybe. And obviously didn't get anywhere, but a little bit of format.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's
how you have to have
that
it.
that box that's definitely the high-tech solution right there.
My fingers were freezing trying to unlock it. I was like, this fucking damn thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So, okay. Anybody have anything else?
I guess to Don's point earlier, I've been thinking about this, that if anything ever slowed down for us, should we think about instituting a annual or semi-annual procedural meeting where we can talk about things, notes, thoughts about ways to
Yeah.
streamline things, make things, and it doesn't have to be, a long meeting. It could be the end of
Yep.
a short meeting, just to get us all on the same page again. Because I don't know that
Yep.
since I've been here, that we've done anything like that.
Dave and I were actually discussing that kind of toward the end of last year.
Dave and I were
there's-
discussing it too, funny enough.
Oh, okay, so I mean, the net of it is there are procedural things and I'll say documentation, I believe that we could provide the applicants that would make our job easier,
Mhm.
such that
Yes.
when we get applications, they're more complete and more correct, right? So,
Exactly. Exactly.
so, yeah, I
You want to have
definitely
that
think,
discussion next meeting?
Thank
if
you.
it's
We could have
something
a
that-
we could have a workshop session, but if it includes the town supervisor, he ought to be there with us so we can let us know, what our concerns are. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that comes in is so sketchy, it just is a waste of time. We're like correcting a very preliminary paper. So if that was intercepted at the town office to get to
Right.
some form where it complied with our requirements, go through the checklist, get the things all complete, and then it would make our time a lot more efficient.
Our application sheet should have the checklist right on it.
Yeah, exactly.
That should
Absolutely.
be, I mean, I could supply a couple, I could prepare this at the next meeting or whenever we want to do this, but I mean, I fill out applications for subdivisions and site plans and lot line revisions at all the other towns, and some of them work and some of them don't, but all of their application paperwork is much more detailed than ours and spells everything out for people so that you're not submitting it unless you've got X, Y, and Z, and that would be great. I mean, it would make Janelle's life easier too, I'm sure.
yeah, oh,
If
absolutely.
all
Yeah.
the packets were collated, and you can require a little bit of legwork on the applicants. I'm not talking big expensive anything like that, but just a little bit of legwork would go a long way, and communication, to Don's point, so that they know exactly what's going to be expected and asked of them. Then that would
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. I live in the land of public domain working for a bank. And the sheer volume of information that we have to manage both publicly and privately is so incredibly regulated that just this kind of thing needs to be archived and needs to be institutionalized and needs to be clear whether we're a town of 3,000 or we're a town of 3 million. It's all the same. Really.
So does
So,
anybody, I propose that we have a discussion at the end of our next meeting, if there's only 2 items or 3 items on that meeting, that we have a session.
Let's carve out, say, half an hour at least to start that, and then we can decide if we want to have a meeting devoted to it, right? I think that would be reasonable to do that, so.
Great.
so,
Bring your ideas to the table next month, everybody.
Yep, Okay, so Janelle, when you're watching or hearing this, we'd like half an hour on the next agenda to
Don't pull your
discuss-
hair out, Janelle.
to discuss process. So,
We're gonna help
uh,
you.
yeah, hopefully, I hope things went well for her today. I think the surgery was today, so.
Oh, it was actually today.
I-
Oh, okay.
I think, I'm not sure, but if it wasn't, I hope it goes well whenever it is, but
Mm.
I believe that was the case, so. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, or are we done?
We anticipate being online again, do you believe?
I don't know. I think the extension was through the end of this month again, so we won't know until probably the middle of the month, the way things have been going, whether we're gonna be online or not online, right? So, does anybody
Jim
remember
has-
differently? I thought it was like through February 26th again or some crazy thing.
I don't remember the date, but Jim has been very good about keeping us updated as soon as he knows. So I'm sure he'll
Yeah.
tell us.
Yep. So, okay,
Very good.
somebody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn, and I want to wish everybody a happy Groundhog's Day.
Oh,
Thanks,
I'll
Ed.
second that
Thanks.
motion to
I
adjourn.
think it ought to be a national holiday.
So that was Ed that made the motion. Was it Nick? You seconded it?
Yeah,
Okay.
second.
Thanks, Nick.
Any nays? No? Okay, great. Okay.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Say-
Yep, thanks.